Okay, let's dig in. Thanks everybody for spending a little bit of your morning or afternoon or early morning with us. We know we're in the middle. So welcome, and again, thank you so much for your time. We've actually never done this before. We are looking forward to having the opportunity to just be really frank with you and answer some of the most commonly asked questions I get all the time. So this should be super casual. I'm going to reserve 15 minutes at the end for you. No matter what, I'm going to stop my questions and make sure that we get to yours. And then obviously, I think each one of you has an invitation to reserve some one-on-one time with me if you'd like to answer personal questions just for you from us. But first, I want to introduce our CEO and our founder to give you a little bit of background on Leanlab education and her story. We practice what we preach. We take seriously the importance of authenticity and empathy and understanding for school communities. And I think our CEO and founder delivers that in spades with what she's created here in Leanlab. So I'm just really thrilled to have her here to tell you a little bit about us and our story. And I hope hearing it will inspire you to submit your application to our program. Katie?
Oh, quite the intro. It's a pleasure to be here. Like Stephanie said, this is the first time we've hosted a remote webinar, so we're just really grateful for you to engage with us remotely and give us some of your time this morning. So I'll give you the quick story of Leanlab. So I'm a Kansas City native, was raised by two community organizers here, and that we're working in low-income communities and communities of color. And I started teaching in 2008 and taught for 5 years, and had the experience of being a teacher and then later an administrator at a new a founding teacher at a new charter school. And through that experience, what I learned is that our children have amazing potential, but oftentimes their potential is constrained because they aren't given access to the best resources that are really propelling their learning forward and giving them access to robust opportunities. And there was a need to innovate new game-changing solutions that would really increase access for all of our students. So really kind of nailed down with this idea that you see on the screen now, that students in classrooms today deserve access to an exceptional education. They deserve to reach their fullest potential, and that actually they deserve to have that experience within their educational career. So there's urgency behind this. I think that kids sitting in our classrooms today deserve to have access to awesome educational opportunities by the time they graduate from high school. But what that will require is urgency, speed, and relentlessness around innovation. So that's really where we come in. We're looking for the disruptors, the agitators, the people that are thinking outside the box, that are wanting to urgently work toward creating breakthrough solutions in sophisticated ways that are also very responsive to our school communities. So that's where we kind of differ from other accelerators. We're not just looking for high growth companies that will get a great ROI and make investors very happy. We're really looking for entrepreneurs that are building something that solves real problems for real communities in real classrooms. So that's really where we come in, and gets us, I think, to one thing that we're also thinking about. It's not just about building a really great dynamic solution. It's about validating that in a real classroom and giving those validated solutions the ability to spread to more school systems. So right now we're working on this problem that there's no efficient way to develop, validate, and then spread these breakthrough solutions. So we're tasking you all to not only have an idea, not only have an MVP or prototype of how it will work when you apply to our program, but also to come into our classrooms that have raised their hand and said they want to work with an innovator who is developing a solution to a problem they've identified, and to do it in a research-backed, rigorous way. So once you come into our program, we've already curated a network of pilot schools. They will have chosen you, handpicked you, and you'll be working side by side with a teacher or an instructional coach or whoever makes most sense as an end user in implementing your solution, and with a researcher to validate that it works. Our expectation of you is that you are wholly responsive to our end users in our community. So if they're giving you suggestions on how to make your product better, that's happening, that you're a true partner with them in the creation of the solution. And then on our end, the benefit for you is that we've activated this network that once you do demonstrate proof of concept, there's a whole network of 20 other school systems or however many other school systems that we can give you access to come on board and help grow your solution. So that's in a nutshell what we're trying to do with this new phase of our work. We're the only accelerator in the country that has a network of pilot schools, and we're really proud of that. And that's where the K12 fellowship comes in. This is our cohort from last year. Beautiful, awesome, inspiring people that have done fantastic work, and we're hoping to continue to grow that alumni network with the fellowship this year. But that's exactly it. You spend 6 months through 3 different workshops with us. In those workshops, we walk you through 2 different tracks. The research study, where you're on the ground in a pilot school site, implementing your technology or solution, getting real feedback, curating a mini study so that at the end of the 6 months, you actually have a little mini study published around how your solution works that's been designed with an end user and a researcher, so a nice kind of external stamp of approval. You can look at last year's, they're on our website on the research page. And then also the other side of that is getting really rigorous business model coaching. So we use Village Capital, a curriculum inspired by Village Capital, who's a great accelerator program that works toward investment readiness. We really work on your financial model, your business model, and a go-to-market strategy. And we also have done a procurement study. So we also give you, which means we've studied how all of our school districts in the region are purchasing solutions, and we have that updated data. So we do a lot of coaching on how your go-to-market and business strategy is leveraging that. How are you going to nail sales in a way that's ethical, that makes sense, and that it ultimately is sustainable for your company to continue to grow its impact here regionally. So that's, in a nutshell, our K12 fellowship program.
Do you want to cover, I get questions about, I see the Gates logo on your website. I see the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative logo on your website. What's the relationship there? What does that mean? What are you working with them on?
Great question. Yeah. We are very fortunate this year to be working with some of the most forward-thinking and well-resourced organizations in the world when it comes to education innovation, the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative and the Gates Foundation. Specifically with both of those, they've invested in a body of work where they're really trying to understand how innovation spread and scale and sustain. So that's why we're looking into things like procurement, sales for ed tech, with the goal of how can we accelerate y'all's entrepreneurs' growth once you demonstrate impact getting into market in a sustainable way. So they're really curious about that research. There are funders and partners. And what's cool about them as funders and partners is they truly approach this work from a partnership approach. So they've both created portfolios of other organizations doing similar work. So we have access to not only our regional network, but other education innovation networks nationwide as well.
That's what I was just going to say, that we had a really, really robust network of supporters before. And this year, our network has just blown up by having access to the network of support from Chan Zuckerberg and now Gates. We're part of cohorts ourselves. So that broadens our opportunity to broaden your opportunity, which we're really, really excited about. Katie, I think you did your job. I think I can let you go now. If you would like to be excused, I think I can handle the rest of these questions.
Awesome.
Thanks so much. If you have any specific questions you want responded to by Katie, I'm happy to get those over to her. You can route those through me, and I will make sure that we get you a Katie response. So thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. And you're in good hands. Stephanie has done an exceptional job of running this program, and we're excited to see the growth. You can also email me directly. I'm Katie at leanlabeducation.org. So happy to answer any questions. Super excited about this cohort. Very excited about the direction of our organization and where we're going. So please let us know your questions. We're just thrilled to be able to support another amazing cohort of entrepreneurs this year.
Yeah. Thanks. Our 6th. It's wild. I can't believe it. All right. So I get a lot of the same questions every year from y'all. So I figured I would achieve some economies of scale and address those to you all collectively. And then again, if you have more specific questions that pertain to each of you, go ahead and shoot me a note. Also, keep putting your questions. I see a couple coming through in my side navigation here. We'll do our best to get to those in the end. If I do not get to those within the hour, I guarantee you a typed response from me or one-on-one time with me to get to those. So I will get to every single question you ask, I promise. Just give me a little time. Okay, so first one, I get this one a lot. My product isn't explicitly for the K12 sector. There are other applications or markets or sectors that it could be applied to. Is this program still for me? Like a lot of questions I get, the answer is not black and white. So this falls into another gray area for us. It really depends. Do you see the K12 sector being a future avenue for you that you are going to dedicate a serious amount of time to? Our program is an extensive time commitment. We recognize that. So if this is, say you're higher ed and your technology, you're experimenting in a sandbox with expanding that communication technology platform over to the K12 sector, and you want to pilot it with a local school and test whether that's a viable avenue for you, heck yeah, like this program could be a really, really smart option for you. If it's just a tertiary goal and not something you're considering, maybe not. I think there are other programs, some really, really great accelerator programs that have an explicit focus on other sub-verticals of education. For example, workforce dev, early learning, higher ed, that perhaps might be a better avenue for you. If it bridges into K12, it fits. So if you're, say, early learning and you're preparing students to be more prepared for K5, that could be a strong fit for us. We have partners in the early space. Or if you're bridging high school students to be more prepared for entering higher ed. So say one that comes to mind is a mentorship platform that targets juniors and seniors in high school that helps make sure that they bridge really successfully to higher education. That could be a good fit. I'll get into this a little bit later, but ultimately our school partners are the ones who make the final decision about who gets into the program and who they want to work with. So it's really hard for me to say who's going to strike a really resonant chord with each school partner. So I don't want to self-select and filter you out without giving them the opportunity to say, hey, this is who we really want to work with. This, I think I just covered this one, but let me know if you still have questions related to that. I think the clarity I want to add here is if we're an accelerator program or a fellowship program, I hate the word accelerator, by the way, but it helps people understand what we are. We're a fellowship program specifically for education, specifically for fellows operating in the K-12 space, which is really rare. That specificity is really what sets us apart from other programs and allows us to get really specific and give you really, really targeted expertise and feedback about what you're creating. And we know this space really, really well. So if you're not in that space, it's probably not the best use of your time to come into this program. But I think everybody I saw on this list is in that space. So, okay, I get this a lot too. I applied to the program last year. Is it worth it for me to take the time to apply again? Or could you look over my past application and let me know what I could do to improve my chances this year? Let's start with A. Is it worth it to apply again? So our school partners this year are different. And like I just said, they are the ones who make the final choice of who they want to work with for the following year. So we'll take the 100+ companies that apply, we'll matriculate that list down to our top 20, wherever we feel there's a really sensible cut line. And then we will present those companies to our school partners who will decide who they want to work with. Is it worth it to apply again? Well, those partners are different. So what they need is going to really vary, and what resonates with them is going to vary. So if you think there's a good chance that that this year you might resonate with one of the partners, heck yeah, I think it's worth it. Also, you automatically get a $10,000 honorarium if you're accepted. We have about 100 companies, a little more than 100 apply each year. So that's way better chance than a lottery ticket of getting some unrestricted grant funding with absolutely no equity required on your part. I think it's a good use of time. Also, everything we ask you, almost everything we ask you in that application is relevant to what an investor would want to know from your company. So having that information fleshed out early is not an unworthy exercise, in my opinion. Could you look over my past application? Absolutely. I am more than happy to go through your past application. If you email me about that, it might be a little bit more of a delay, because when I'm getting back to all the abundance of emails in my inbox, I tend to star those and go back to them a little bit later, because it takes me a little more time to go into the F-Success account, open it up, pull up your last application, and I want to thoroughly spend some time with it. I've already done that for about 4 or 5 companies so far this year. I am more than happy to do that. With yours, I know you're taking a ton of time, and we are all about iterating based on feedback. So I'm more than happy to let you know what maybe some sticking points and constructive criticism was from your previous application to set you up for success, optimal success. You guys all are mine. I care so much about each and every one of you. So more than happy to do that. Just don't get mad if it takes 72 hours. And please don't ask me to do it on June 14th. Please. How many people apply and how many get in? So last year we had 102 applications come through. Now we had 160 some people start the application. And I want to tell you a sad story. So we had one woman who thought she applied. Her application wasn't actually triggered as a completed application because she waited so late to hit submit. The file upload of some of the required components didn't go through. And so she wasn't considered a fully applied applicant, and that didn't trigger her going into the review process at all, which is such a bummer. So please, like you said, the application is robust. Hit submit early. I think you can go in and edit after you submit, right? I'm asking my friend. I'm going to check on that. But what I don't want to happen is for a file upload, particularly that video requirement, to keep you from being considered, because that application portal will shut down at the assigned, at the time that it says it's going to shut down. And if that file upload isn't complete, you won't get kicked in for consideration. And unfortunately, I can't be really flexible on that because I want to keep the rules fair for everybody. So please go early. How many get in? 6 companies get in. So something new we're doing this year, because I mentioned that our school partners are the ones who make the final choice of who gets into the program. Every year, or at least last year for sure, there were 2 or 3 companies that, my heart hurt weren't in the program. There's so many stellar companies, and sometimes, even though you're creating a solution that I think is really powerful and needed, it might not align perfectly to one of the school partners who's really, has the agency and autonomy to select who they want to bring into their school, just like the real world, right? So what we're offering this year is we'll have the top 6 companies that are selected get in, and they will get the $10,000 honorarium and the guaranteed pilot partner. Then additionally to that, up to 4 companies will have the opportunity to come into the program and participate in all of the workshops and potentially work with a pilot school partner as well. Our budget, since we're a nonprofit, does not allow for us to give the $10,000 honorarium to those remaining 4 companies, and we will actually be charging $2,500 for that. But they would have to be, not anybody can get in, you would have to be invited. And we can work through that and talk to you individually one-on-one if that's something you are still interested in. So I can give you more information on that as well in the future. Who decides who gets in and how does that process work? So it's a long process. So forgive us, it takes a little bit of time, but that's because we take this so seriously. So time check, okay. So first, we divide you into groups. So we put all the math tools together, we put all the literacy tools together, we put the assessment tools together, administrative dashboard, social emotional support. We group those we group all the applications categorically. Then we invite some experts in each one of those areas to review those, and we filter through who we think the top performers are in each categorical segment. If you fall into an other, there's another group that reviews kind of the other bag. So that's step one. Step two, then you get triggered into an interview process with our team. We have a pretty rigorous interview process. We really want to get to know you, and at that point, we are fairly confident in the hard side of things, meaning like, do you have the right amount of sales? Is your product ready to go? We're looking for sort of the softer side of things. What do I mean by that? The softer side is, are you going to be responsive to our community? Do we believe that you have the authentic background to be creating this solution that you're creating? Do we care about your story? We start to look at your referrals. What do other people you work with in the past say to you? Have you been responsive to communities in the past? Is that reflected in your timeline? Have you been iterating in response to community feedback and to school feedback and customer feedback before? That's what we want to see at that point in time. And then we bring you in for a one-on-one interview with school partners, and they then will have the opportunity to select whether they want to work with you. Then it would go back to you. We would present that school partner to you. We'd say, hey, they want to work with you. And then if you both say yes, woohoo, it's a match. And that's match day. And that is how that process works. The application is long. Is it worth the time for me to fill it out? I think I already covered this, but yeah, I understand it's long, so start it early. And if you've done it before, there are some slight changes. I wrote every single character of that application myself, and I put a ton of thought and care into it, and many, many people helped us curate that application to make sure that we get the best possible cohort because of your responses. So it isn't exactly how it was last year. Look for a couple different nuances because each question responds very specifically to the scoring rubric that our review committee will look at to select you. What are you really looking for in the application? Can you give me a couple hints that will set me apart from the pack? Absolutely. Again, one of the number one things we're looking for is that you're going to care what our school community partners say and how they respond to your product and how your product, service, technology functions in a real world setting. So one of the things that I'm explicitly looking for that maybe isn't spelled out in the application is an example of a time that you were highly responsive to a community you're working with. I know I've already said that, but again, that's what really differentiates our program from the pack. That's the value add from our program. So if you are just in a position that you are wanting to just go out and start crushing sales and sell your product as is, like, that's half of our program. And that's really important to us because to impact the most amount of students possible, you need to sell. And you need to have a really, really strong business model. So that's really, really important to us. But the other side is continuously developing that product. It's never done. You need to recognize that the product is never finished. It's never complete. If you're in a beta, there's going to be another one and another one and another one. So that's really important. Also, we take equity really seriously. So what do I mean by that? We live in a scary time. We live in a time where we're seeing a widening chasm in national scores between schools that have a lot and schools that are underserved. And we want to be a part of the solution, and we don't want to exacerbate the problem. What do I mean by that? We want to make sure that our cohort of fellows is creating solutions that will help raise all boats, and that you will make an effort to go into all schools and improve student outcomes for all kids. That's it. Talk to me about the in-person requirements for the program. How flexible are you in those in-person dates? So right now the dates on our calendar are listed as specific weeks. Not all days of those are the same. So the first 3 dates of each one of those are actually like not sit and get, but more traditional workshop. It's really, really interactive. Workshop component. So 3 days, I think you would fly in on a Friday night, then Saturday, Sunday, and half of Monday, you would have set content. Then the rest of those dates are actually intended to be the time that you would be in schools, working with your school partner, setting up the study and the implementation of the study, and then working with your research partner. Now, since those dates, I'm going to give an example. So, for example, one company I talked to yesterday, they're creating it's a more educated or more sophisticated calculator application that's on a phone. So it's used predominantly in tests, so during math assessments. We can't guarantee that the school will be offering those exams in exactly that window of dates that we have locked down for the in-person requirements. So therefore, that team specifically might need to flex those in-person dates in September, November, January to align with when their lead end user pilot partner will be offering exams, to be able to witness how that is working in real time as part of their research. So my point is, it might vary. Also, our school partners are not all on identical schedules. So one school might be in a fall break or have professional development days that align with that same calendar time. So that's a long way of saying there are dates in that window that are not flexible. You cannot miss the workshops, period. But the later dates in the week are a little more flexible. You just have to make them up. So expect to spend 3 full weeks in Kansas City, but there's a little flexibility. Makes sense? What costs are covered for our team? If I want to bring more than one member of my team to participate in the workshops, will those costs be covered? Maybe. Gray area. So your accommodations here are covered. Your food for workshops is covered. We expect you to cover your transportation to and from our city. So if you are in Fiji and you want to come to Kansas City to validate that your product can sustain in a highly representative and generalizable market in the United States, awesome. Like, this program is totally for you. We're a nonprofit, and unfortunately we cannot afford to cover your flight costs from Fiji. So that's on you. But once you're here, we'll feed you and we'll put you up. We have a set budget. So if another member of your team can come, and if we can help put them up to stay, that varies. It really depends on who gets in the cohort. So, and what size the founding teams are. So say we have 6 ventures that each one of them has a founding team of 5, which happens every once in a while. Then no, that's harder. But say we have 6 ventures and it's more typical of what we have typically had in the past, then maybe it's 3 solopreneurs and 3 teams of 2, then it's a lot more doable. So we don't really know the answer to that until we see who matriculates in to be part of the final cohort, but we have our set budget. We will dedicate as much of that as possible to each of you, and then we'll ask that you cover other members of your team as needed. But we love it when other members of the team participate. Like, more the merrier. We really want you to be able to make real-time decisions in this working time. what can I expect to be covered in the workshops? I think we covered this. One thing I want to hammer home is that, our program has specificity in the K12 marketplace. We know that. We know it frontward and backward. We are very familiar with the nitty-gritty procurement sales cycles of the K12 space. That's actually why our program starts in the fall, because we want to position you to be in an optimum time for the budgeting cycle of standard schools. So we are really, really going to spend a lot of time working on your sales strategy and making sure that you have a highly replicable sales process that you can return to again and again and again. So we'll be doing a lot of extensive coaching on that and supporting you with that, because investment is great, and we really, really believe in companies who are taking on investment. However, investment and your valuation has to be backed up by your sales at the end of the day. So if you've taken on a ton of investments, say you closed a Series A, you have a $1.5 million investment you've already taken on at a fantastic valuation, perhaps our program could be great for you, because you need to justify that valuation in sales. So sales will be covered. In addition to that, investment readiness, but not all companies that come into our program are taking on investment. So we talk a lot about bridge capital, like how to get you through those tough procurement cycle times, to make sure you can still sustain and you don't have to close your doors before you get paid for that giant contract you just closed. We'll work on that. And it's a lot of the traditional accelerator content from Village Capital. So I don't think we covered a lot what Village Capital is. They're a really awesome social impact investment fund with an accelerator that spans across 5 different verticals, and it's health tech, ag tech, fintech, ed tech, and one other one that I'm forgetting right now. But we love their curriculum. We adopted it with our 3rd cohort, and we have really been iterating on it and making it our own ever since. So now this will be our 6th cohort. So it'll be 3, 4, 5, 6, our 4th year of using that curriculum. Again, heavily modified, but the core tenets of it and the viral framework, the venture investment readiness awareness levels framework is a fantastic resource that we hear from our fellows again and again. That's a really, really strong backbone. So we're not removing that anytime soon. Can you elaborate on the research component of the program? So I'll be the first to own that this isn't my lane as much. I guess I didn't really give you a ton of background on me. So my lane is more marketing. I have an MBA in marketing and entrepreneurship. I used to run an accelerator program adjacent to the university in Kansas City's backyard, University of Missouri, Kansas City, and I worked as a marketing director for a Broadway presenting company for 7 years. So I'm into marketing, sales, and helping support early stage entrepreneurs and seed stage entrepreneurs. That's my sweet spot. The research side, we've got other people on our team, thank God, who handle that. We use the design-based innovation research platform. Is that right? Design-based implementation research. Framework came out of UC Boulder as the core of our program, and then our program is based in co-design. So you will be handheld by a PhD researcher, and you will engage in a co-design study in partnership with your school partner, and that research will be mutually beneficial to both of you. We actually pay your school partner to give you feedback in relation to that study. So each school partner is given an honorarium of $2,500 to work with you, because we highly, highly value their expertise. It's not my expertise, but there are people on my team who is their expertise, and then also our school partners are brilliant. So I believe we are the only organization that actually gives an honorarium to literally compensate our school partners. So and I can set you up with someone who can tell you a lot more about the research component. And as Katie said at the beginning, the research outputs from last year are on our website. And our research component actually went from August to January last year, but 3 of the 6 companies that went through the program extended their research to run the full academic year. And then 1 company even extended it for a full 18 months. So we have 1 organization that's actually still continuing the research, and then 2 that just wrapped up their research, and that's what's published on our website. We've conducted some, and I've got 5 more minutes of my own questions, then I'm going to start going to the question box that I'm looking at. We've conducted some pilots in the past and struggled to get feedback from teachers in our school context. How do I know? Oh, I just answered this. So we pay them. They're awesome. They go through an equally rigorous selection and recruitment process led by my colleague who's sitting here off screen who you can't see. And yeah, they are scrutinized just as much as you. So they are bought in and they're really, really excited to work with you. And they pick you. So that's how you know. What's the Visionary School Network? What's the difference between that and the pilot partners? So the pilot partners have selected you and have invited you into their school. They're the ones we are paying. They are working with you day after day after day, specifically on that co-design research work, and you are implementing in their classroom. The Visionary School Network is a network of school partners who are really, really interested in learning what's going on with each one of the innovations, and is also interested in the opportunity to potentially adopt your innovation into their school. Kansas City is a very, very, very uniquely, highly fragmented educational market. I think we have something like 68 different LEAs serving our metropolitan area, which is just bonkers. So one thing that, and then again, this is part of the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative research, is we are really looking at opportunities to reduce that fragmentation, increase economies of scale, and potentially collective purchasing opportunities to help support schools that are much smaller and represent a much smaller student population. And so the Visionary School Network is all part of that work. We're trying to provide neurons and connectivity and synapses between a fragmented landscape and really empower and elevate agency and autonomy for our school partners. So that's, again, first and foremost, we care about our local schools, and that they're highly, highly representative of the rest of the United States. So within the Kansas City area, we have rural, urban, super public, or suburban, giant, highly affluent schools. Am I missing a genre? Charter. We have a huge charter market. Thank you. Very varying charters too. We have a very robust charter landscape, and then we straddle 2 states. So I live about 3 miles from where I work. I live in Kansas and I work in Missouri, so I cross that state line every day. That's very, very common. I still have questions. Oh, I hit the nail on the head. I still have questions. Can I get some one-on-one time with a Leanlab team member who's better at explaining the research component than you, Stephanie? Yes, you probably can. Yeah, reach out to me sooner rather than later. That deadline is the 16th. So like I said, if you reach out to me on the 14th, that might be a little tougher. Get back to me as soon as possible. And I still have open slots on my calendar. I'm prepared to open a couple more. I'm being a little protective of that time, but since you spent some time with me here today, I will absolutely make time for you specifically. And then I can put you in touch with another member of my team that has a little more area expertise in if I feel that's necessary. Yeah. Okay. Whew. Did it. Let's get to your questions. And feel free to key them in as needed. Okay. Are you open to working with companies who are already working in schools? Hell yeah. Oh, sorry. We love the potential opportunity to work with mentors, and yay, good. We love mentors too. And we love this is an eye test. and love the idea of getting a rigorous and objective review of our platform, but didn't know if you were looking only at companies in their first prototype or MVP. We, of course, are always iterating based on feedback. Okay, that's great to hear. So yeah, we are absolutely open to companies that are already working with schools. If not, we pretty much have a preference for companies that are already working in schools. I think what's really unique is that, of course, pilots with schools and with ed tech, that's traditionally a sales strategy, right? So you want to get your foot in the door as a company and run a pilot with a school partner, but that whole relationship is nuanced by the fact that your ultimate goal is to sell to that school. So what we're giving you as part of our program is a warm, welcome, open door to not just be using that or leveraging that pilot partnership as I want to close a deal and close a sales strategy, but to legitimately get honest, responsive feedback. It's a trusting relationship that makes it different and unique from your other pilot school partners that you worked with in the past. Some organizations we've spoken to have already engaged in full stage efficacy studies and things like that. Awesome. I mean, I always think the more research, the better. We're talking about our kids here. We want the tools that we put in the hands of our kids to be as research and fact and evidence-based as possible. So we're all about more research and setting you up with a framework that you can leverage again and again as you engage more school pilot partners, that you could take it and use it for your own once you feel really comfortable with it after completing our program. I hope that answers your question. Not all products are piloted equally. What flexibility is embedded into your process? Hardware versus software. I'm trying to understand. So our school pilot partners will have selected you to come in to work with them. And then we have a framework that we use that gives you the bones of how the research study would work, but it's created to be highly flexible. And then your lead end user at each school is the person who would traditionally be using your hardware or technology or software. So that could look different for everyone. So say, again, the example, so the calculator tool that I talked about as an example earlier, your lead end user would be, say, the classroom, we'll go with trigonometry teacher, right? Versus if it's a dashboard for building administrator capacity, your lead end user would be the, say, the principal or maybe even an instructional coach. We've had hardware come through the program too. So one example comes to mind, school bus. That dashboard is used by the administrator. So your lead end user would be the school admin, or maybe even higher up at the district level. That might be an individual in Central who isn't even physically at a school. They're at the school board headquarters building. So it might be them. So it all varies. It's all very personalized to you, the founder. I hope I answered that. Is our school partner list public? It is still in flux. I believe it will be made public, right? Our school partner list? Yeah. You'll all have access to that, or learn more about our school network on our website. And there's going to be more information there. Again, we're 2 trains running at once. So you all, we're a marketplace, right? So you all represent the entrepreneurs going through the program. And then my colleague, David, again, I keep alluding to you. I guess you could hop on and say hi. David. David is managing a mirroring process for these schools. And right now we are deciding who ideal pilot partners would be, and then people who want to come in on the network. The network is designed to be very, very representative to the larger United States. So we're looking diversity and representation so that we have an effective network to pilot all of your solutions in, so that each of you can try a bunch of different school types. Can you share how you're defining an early stage venture? What number are we looking for? Okay, yeah. So if you do not have a product that is ready to go into schools, and by product, I'm using that as a blanket term for services, technologies, curriculum, whatever it may be, if it is not built and ready to be used by our school partners to the point that you could sell it to them at the culmination of the program or even now, honestly, you're not ready. We want to know that you have a usable, functioning product that could be used by schools now, because we want to impact as many students as possible. And if you're not ready to punch up to scale, then it's a little early for you. Are the school partners going to use the products just during that pilot window or during the whole school year? Also, what if certain professional development for educators is needed along with our product? Would that be something out of the scope of the fellowship? Oh, great question. So I think I addressed this a little bit earlier. This might have come in before I talked about it, but the school partners and how long that pilot relationship lasts is not set in stone. So our program supports you. I have a meeting coming up. Our program supports you specifically through January. We don't disappear. We don't fall off the face of the earth. We're still here through the end of the year. So we will absolutely support you and stay engaged with you and your school partner. If the two of you agree that you want to run a pilot for the next 10 years, that's up to you. You're adults. Do it. We are here to support you. We're here to provide the framework, and we guarantee the extensive hand-holding that we provide through January with some additional support through the rest of the academic year, or like I said, last year, as long as 18 months. So, wait. Also, what if certain professional development of educators is needed? Okay. So in order for this to be a pilot where you can really glean a lot of information from it, we want it to be as real world as possible. So what we don't want is for you to come in and give a whole host of additional professional development and training that you wouldn't normally give your customers, because that's going to confound the research study. We want it to be as real world as possible. That said, we know there's going to be a little bit of extra time and attention and relationship building with your lead end user than there might be with your typical school partner, but we want it to be as real world scenario as possible, how you implement the tool. And that will be covered more extensively by our research partner when we onboard all of you and explain how that works. How do we schedule individual time with you? My email, ready? It's STEPHANIE, Stephanie, my name, at leanlabeducation.org. And our whole team follows that formula. So if you want to reach out to anyone on my team, you can get them like that. But shoot me a note. And then if you put webinar in the subject line, I might get back to you faster than, as you can imagine, my email inbox is fairly crowded right now. So that would be great. And then if you haven't received it already, my calendar, I'll bounce my calendar link over to you and you can schedule some time with me there. Can you talk more about the process for references and what they can expect so we can inform them ahead of time? Yeah, great question. So I'm literally working on that right now. I haven't decided yet. Last year, the reference checks were a phone call from us, and we had an explicit set of questions that we asked them. This year, it might be a combination of a survey form and a one-on-one conversation, but I am going to talk to, at minimum, 2 humans who have worked with you in the past who aren't your aunt or uncle, preferably a school partner that you've worked with in the past, and a mentor. I think would be a really, really great combination of references to just hear what you're like to work with. Because we do this once a year. We let six fellows into our heart and soul and give you everything. I mean, we lay it all out for you all, and we put in a crazy amount of hours. We burn the midnight oil. So we are really, really, really diligent about the selection of who gets into the program. Did I get to the bottom? Woohoo! All right. I am to the bottom of the questions. If I will leave time for, is there anything else anybody wants to know that I have not covered? Okay. Can't believe it. Good time. Well, again, I'm Stephanie Campbell. I manage our K12 fellowship program. I take it really seriously. I care about each and every one of you almost as much as I care about each and every one of the kiddos that is at the schools that we want to support. We hope you see that Leanlab is a little bit different than the traditional accelerator. We care about, first and foremost, maximizing student outcomes for all kids. And our chosen avenue of propelling that change is through creating really, really strong companies with strong ecosystems, ethos, and values that mirror ours. Our values are boldness, equity, and human-centered design. We take those really seriously in everything we do, and we hope you do as well. Thanks so much for your time this morning. I'm going to sign off. Shoot me a note if you have any questions, and I look forward to reviewing your materials. Thanks again.